Hi guys, welcome back to today's class. Right, I remain your tutor Blessed Namarachi. So today we'll be talking about designing posters and flyers. Right, so today is all about posters and flyers. Right, so moving on. Right, this is the goal for the day. So for today we have to understand what makes a poster or flyer effective, learn how to balance text and visuals, practice creating a flyer for a school event. I told you guys that in designing, you don't just design, right? You don't just start designing, that there are rules that guide these designs, right? Like we talked about in our first class where we treated some of the principles of designs. So now, what is the meaning of poster? What is poster, right? You keep on hearing poster, flyer. What is poster? So a poster is a visual display that communicates information, promotes an event or product, or conveys a message. So posters actually, let me show you guys one. So this is basically a poster, right? Like I explained in our first class, I say that once you look at this flyer right here, it tells you a message. What message is this poster trying to tell us? It tells us that it's a kids coding fest coming up, right? And then it tells us the date. It tells us how we can register and where we can register. It tells us the requirements that we need, right? And so many more. Do you understand? So a poster, when you are designing a flyer or a poster, you should be able to convey message, right? When people read it or sees your poster, they should be able to get the information that you want to pass through, right? So now, where are posters used? Where can we see these posters? So posters are used to announce events like a sports day, right? So if you look at our screen right here, we have a flyer that's talking about sports weeks, right? So if you look at the sports week flyer here, there is a date right here. It has a date, right? So this is one of the things that we use posters to do. So another one is to share important information, right? So you can design a poster that talks about classroom rules, just like we have here. One of the rules: help each other, be on time, paper in the bin, share your stuff, listen carefully, line up, raise up your hand to talk. So, right, these are class rules, and this was designed, right? So this is one of the things that we use posters to do, right? So the next thing that we use posters to do is to advertise something. You understand? So we use posters to advertise something like a new movie or a concert, or maybe a new product is coming. Just use posters for advertisement. Like we have our screen right here. We have a poster that is advertising the Lion King 2 that is coming in. Do you understand? So now, where else can we see? Okay, so posters have been around since the 80s, right? And then, can you guess what it actually looks like? What posters in the 80s looks like? So now let's look at it and know if there is much difference, or if there is a difference between the posters that was made in the 80s and posters that are being made now. So look at a poster that was made in the 80s and look at a poster that was made this year, right? So now, if you look at this poster, right, you can see that the one of the 80s is not that clear. It's not that clear, right? The right tops here are not that clear, like it's not sharp if you are looking at it. But then if you look at this one right here, it's very clear. It's very catchy. Like if you are passing and like you see this poster right here, this Mohana poster right here, posted on the wall or showing on the billboard, we want to look at it and look at it again because it is very fine, it's catchy, the colors used are sharp, like it's just so fine. But then if you look at the poster here, it's even difficult for you to even read what is written here. If you look at the posters here, it's even difficult for you to read what is written. Like you need to zoom for you to be able to get what is written here. Do you understand? So now if you look at these two posters, you see that there is a lot difference, right, between the posters made in the 80s and the posters made now. Do you understand? So moving on, now that we have known what a poster is and what it's used for, let's learn how to arrange parts of a poster properly. Because I told you guys that design, there are rules that guide these designs. You don't just start designing things, right? There are rules you are meant to follow. So now let's look at understanding layout and composition. You understand? That's the main thing for today, understanding layout and composition. You understand? So now, what is layout in design? Layout is how you arrange everything on your poster or flyer. The pictures, text, color, and shapes. Think of it like setting up a room where the sofa goes, where the table goes. It is all about placement. So layout is all about placement, how you place the elements that you are using to design. Do you understand? Like the example we gave here, think about it as if you're setting a room. Do you understand? Let me say in your parlor now, it's a new parlor and you bought new chairs, you bought new tables, new curtains. You know that there are places where all these things are meant to be. Do you understand? You can't just go and keep a chair where people are passing, like in front of the door. No, it will not be nice. You can't just keep the table anywhere you want, right? So there are positions where you need to keep all these things. There are positions where all these things need to be. So that is what layout means. So layout is all about placement, right? So you don't just place your elements anywhere you want, right? There are places where it's supposed to be and there are places where it's not supposed to be. Do you guys understand? So now, moving on. Okay, example is the title at the top, right? Is the image in the middle. So if you look at the flyer that we have here right now, look, this has a center layout. Do you understand? If you look at the right top, right, the title, which is Children's Day Party, is at the top, and then the image is at the middle, is in the middle. Do you understand? So you see, it was not just placed anywhere. That is how it was placed. Everything was placed here in the center. If you look at the side attractions, right, the games that will be played on that day and the place, right, the location and everything was placed in the center. If you look at this flyer very well, do you understand? That tells you that the person did not just come and put the Children's Day here, around here, and then come and put the picture around here, and then come and put this one, the information around here, and then this one around here. No, the person placed everything in order where it should be. Do you understand? So now, moving on, why is this layout important? Why is layout important? Right? So a good layout makes your poster easy to read. So that is one of the importance of layouts, right? It makes your poster easy to read, right? It makes it nice to look at. You know, so when somebody look at your poster, the person will be like, oh, this is nice. And then the person can easily read it, right? Clear message. Do you understand? It gives a clear message that the poster is trying to do what? Convey. So a messy layout can confuse people or make them ignore your design. Example. Let's look at this example right here. So now we have a bad layout here and a good layout here, right? So look at this. If you see this poster, will you want to read this? Obviously, no. You don't even know what this is talking about. It's even hard to even see the text that was written here. Do you understand? So why would I want to read something like this? It doesn't send a message to anybody. But then if you look at this one, it's very easy to read and it sends a clear message Looking at this poster, I'm like, oh, digital education summit. All right, so this flyer is talking about digital education summit. So what is digital education summit? Learn how to navigate the JAMB CBT interface efficiently. You'll be like, okay, so it has something to do with CBT. Do you understand? And then if you look at this now, you see that everything was placed properly. Do you understand? The write-ups was placed here, the image is placed here, everything was placed neatly. They did not just place it anyhow, unlike this flyer that we have here. Do you understand? So this is basically what layout and why it is important. Looking at this, it is very easy for me to read. Just looking at this, I can read it easily. But then looking at this poster, I can't. I don't even know where to start and read it. Do you get? So now, let's look at the key elements of layouts, right? There are key elements for this layout. So now we have hierarchy, right? You know, in the last time we talked about a typographical hierarchy. Do you understand? But now today we are talking about hierarchy in general. So hierarchy ensures that the most important information grabs attention first. Example, headings, subheadings. Do you understand? So in hierarchy, right, the most important information that you want to pass through, right, should be what people see first immediately they look at your flyer or your poster. Example, now we have this flyer here. So if I look at this flyer here, right here, the first thing that I see is school admission. That is hierarchy. That is what hierarchy is all about. So the most important information that this flyer wants to tell us is that the school admission is ongoing. Do you understand? So that's why when I look at it, the first thing that I see is school admission. Do you understand? That is the most important information. That is hierarchy. So the next one here is open for registration now. So in hierarchy, or when you are designing, right, the most important information, right, should be what people see first when they look at your design. Do you understand? Because if I make this smaller, right, if I just come and make this small and then maybe come here and just pick this call us and put it right here and make it big. Obviously, when people look at this flyer, what they will see is call us from, not the admission. So now, is it passing the information that the flyer is supposed to? No, it's not. Do you understand? For hierarchy. So now, moving on, we have the one for balance. So balance keeps things so that your design doesn't feel messy. Do you understand? So in design, you balance the elements. You get? You don't just put it anywhere or anyhow. Like here now, that we have this illustration, you see, it's giving space, right? So it is balanced very well. If you look at it, like they are the same height, the same shape and everything. But then if you look at this one, look at where this one started and look at where this one is being placed. So there is no balance in this design. Do you understand? Now let's look at a flyer and see. So now look at this flyer now. This flyer is balanced. Look, all these ones now are in this row, and then the pictures are in this row. Everything is well balanced, very well. Everything here started in the same line. Do you understand? The same thing with this one. So everything here is balanced. They didn't just put this admission here and then started this the best guideline for your kids. They didn't put it here or put this one here. Everything was arranged very well. Everything was balanced very well, so that when people see it, it is easy for them to read, right? So now that's all for balance. So the next one we'll be looking at is alignment. So alignment ensures that the text, image, and other elements are lined up neatly so that the design looks clean and professional. Do you understand? So alignment is kind of similar to balance also. So in alignment, you make sure you align everything very well, right? So that it doesn't look messy. So that it's neat. Like look at this one right here. The title and the subheading, everything is aligned very well. Everything is placed very well. Do you understand? Now let's look at an image. So look now. This here now, it has what we call center alignment. Everything is being placed in the center. If you look at this very well, everything is being placed in the center. So for this flyer here, it has center alignment. There's an alignment for it. Do you understand? They didn't just scatter everything anywhere. So you see that all these flyers you are seeing, they are all following the rules. Do you get? So the next one, which we'll be looking at, the next key element we'll be looking at is what we call white space, or you call it negative space. So white space, also called negative space, is the empty space around your element. It helps your design breathe and makes it less crowded. So white space, as it's called, you can, if you don't understand it by white space, just know that it's an empty space that you leave. Do you understand? If you look at the illustration that we have here, you see that at least after this one, there is line, there is space. Do you understand? Everything was not jam-packed. Do you understand? If you look at this one, you see this one is even touching the circle. You get? Everything is just so jam-packed and looking so messy. Now let's look at this image right here. So if you look at this image, you see that it has space. At least after the school admission, there is space before this box that contains the futures. Do you understand? So there is space. Look, after this, there is space here before the school admission. There is space, like everything. It makes your work look so neat. Imagine if they just brought this school admission, they keep it around here, right? The futures also is around here too. Everything is just looking so jam-packed. You understand? Even yourself, it will be difficult for you to read. So it's important to leave empty space, known as white space, right, when you are designing, because it makes the flyer or poster look neat, and then it is easily readable. People can read it, and it makes it even more attractive. Do you understand? So now we are going to look at the types of layouts. So we just finished looking at the key elements, right, in layout. So the next thing we are going to look at is types of layouts. So one of the types of layouts is known as grid layouts, right? So grid layout uses invisible lines to organize your content. Everything lines up neatly. Great for professional and clean designs. So in designing, right, sometimes you put up what we know as guide, right, to design. Put up guides that help you in designing and where you place some of the things, some of your elements, right? Now let's look at this, right? So this is one of the examples of how grid layouts looks like. Do you understand? So you can just place like a invisible line right here and here, and then just place your, see the travel tour is here, the picture, travel tour. So it starts at the price. So this is how one of the examples of grid layouts, this is how it looks like. Do you understand? There is an invisible line, right, where before they now place this picture so that they get the exact shape of how they want it to be. So now the next one is known as freeform layout. Another type of layout is known as freeform layout. So in this layout, no straight lines or structure, more playful and creative, perfect for art or kids events. So here there is no, you don't need to put any lines in your designs. You understand? You just play freely. But in as much as there is no line or structure in the design, it still doesn't mean that your design should look messy. Now let's look at this right here. So back to this Children's Day party. If you look right here now, you can see there are some images that are here. Even the time is here, the date is here. There are some images that are here. Do you understand? So this is one of the examples of free form. Do you get? So even looking at this, even though there was no line, there is no grid line for it, right? But then the design is still looking neat. It's still looking fine. You can still read it, even though it's a free form layout design. Do you understand? So now the next layout that we're looking at is centered layout, right? So centered layout puts the most important info in the center, focus attention right in the middle, right? So this is an illustration for center layout. So you put everything in the middle, right? So now let's look. If you look at this flyer that you have here, you see that everything was put in the center, right? So this is what we call center layout. So everything here is on the center, starting from the logo, the design, brand print, right? Welcome to everything was put right on the center. So that's all for the type of layout. So the next thing we are going to look at is understanding composition. You understand? So we're going to understand what composition is all about. So now, composition means how everything in your design works together, right? Like a team, it helps tell a story, show emotion, or guide eyes. You understand? So composition now is how everything that you choose, all your elements that you choose to work with, how they work together like a team, starting from the text that you choose, the pictures, the colors, the shapes, right? These are all composition. So how you put everything together matters. Do you understand? The type of font that you choose, does it match with the picture? Does it match with the color? The color, does it match with the fonts? Right? With the color of the fonts, right? So that's composition. Do you understand? So your composition helps tell a story, show emotion, and guide the viewer's eyes. That is the people that are looking at your posters or flyer. So now, let's look at the key principles of composition, right? So now, the first key principle of composition is what we call the rule of thirds, right? So the rule of thirds divides the space into 3 grids, right? Placing important elements along the lines or intersection for aesthetics balance. So for composition, right, you have 3 grids. You know, we talked about line grids in layouts, right? So here now we have 3 grids. So how do you place your pictures? How do you place your elements? Do you understand? So you place it at the edge of the line, like the intersection where the line meets, right? So you don't place it at the center, just like we have here. You understand? You don't place a picture like this on the center like this, or your element or your font. So that's it. So now, see, we have a picture of the rule of thirds. So now you see it has the 3 by 3 lines, right? So now you see the picture is in the intersection of the line. The same thing with the creative marketing, that's the write-up. You understand? The picture is not here at the center. Do you understand? So the picture is here and then the write-up is here. That is for composition. Do you understand? The rule of thirds. So that's how the rule of thirds work. So moving on, we have contrast, right? So differences in color, size, shape, or texture to create interest or focus. Use big versus small, light versus dark to make something stand out. You understand? So for contrast, right? For color, when you are designing, if you are using a dark background, you shouldn't use a dark font. I don't know if you understand what I'm saying. If you look at this now, let's take this rectangle as our background. Do you know there is a text written here? There's a text written here, contrast. But then because we have a black background, which is already a dark color, and then now I have a dark red color. The text that is written here is not visible. We can hardly see it. Do you understand? So that is the light for the light versus dark. But then if you look here now, we have a dark background, but then we have a light text. Do you get? So for contrast, right? If your background, if you have a dark background, then you should use a light color text, right? If you have a light background, you should use a dark color text. That is for contrast. But another thing is that if you have a big shape, right, the next one should be small. Do you understand? So you don't use two the same. You don't use a dark color, a dark background color, and you now come and use a dark font on the background color. No, it doesn't work that way. Do you understand? So it has to be light versus dark, and then big versus small, so that it makes your design stand out and then interesting. You get? So now for contrast, look at what we have here now. So if you look at this now, we have a light colored background here, this light blue that you can see here. And then look now, for the text now, we have a light colored text. But then if you look at this part, right, where the day, Saturday, you see the day part touched the black background, right? You see that it's here is more visible than here. Why? Because this is a dark background, right? And then this is a light color. Do you understand? This is a dark color and this is a light color. So that's why here is more visible than here. Here you can hardly read it. For somebody who has an eye problem, the person will hardly see this thing. But then if you look at it from this side, you can see that it's readable from here. So that is it. But then this is actually a bad design, but I just used it to show you guys what contrast is all about. So now we have the next one, which is emphasis. So directing the viewer's attention to the most important part of the design make the most important thing pop out. Example, big title or a bold image. You know, this emphasis is just like hierarchy. Do you understand? So it's just like hierarchy in layout. When we talk about the most important information being big. Do you get? Like we have an illustration here. We have title and subheading. The title is bigger than the subheading. But then if you look at this one, let's say that this segment is the image. The image is big and the subheading is big. And then the title is actually smaller than the image and the subheading. That is not how your design should be. Now let's look at this. So if you look at this image right here, what it's trying to tell us about is the Valentine's promo. And that is the first thing that I see when I look at this image. Immediately I see this flyer, the first thing that my eye goes to is the Valentine's promo, and which is the main message that they are trying to pass. That is for emphasis in composition. Do you understand? So the most important message should stand out more than other elements. Do you understand? So now we have what we call repetition. So in design, it's advisable that you repeat colors or shapes so that you create unity. Do you get? So if you look at the illustration here, we use the same shapes right here and we repeated colors. We have green, we have blue, we repeated the green color and we have blue. But then here, we have different shape, right, and different colors, and it makes your design not look good. So in designing, when you're designing, it's usually best for you to repeat shapes and then repeat the colors that you are using. Now, let's look at this flyer as an example. So if you look at this flyer here, you understand that basically they used most shapes, most colors that they use are just two colors, which are the green and the blue colors here. Do you understand? But then, what I actually want to show you guys here is the shape, repetition of shape that was used here. Because that this design has so many colors right now is because it has to do with children. You know, children have like colorful things. And then in design, you don't just use one color to design. Do you understand? You can use from 2 upwards to design. From 2 colors, 3 colors, 4 colors to design. You don't use one color because it makes your design look dull. Do you understand? But then what I'm trying to show you guys here is the shape. You see, the repetition of shape that I'm talking about. If you look at here, they used 3 the same shapes, the same thing with here, and they repeated the circle right here. Do you understand? So they repeated the shapes that they used right here. So they did not come here and put a rectangle and then carry this circle and come and put here, and then carry another rectangle and come and put here. No, they repeated the shapes. And then the same thing for the ones under it. They repeated it. Then if you look at the circle here too, they repeated the circle. Do you understand? So in design, it's always advised that you repeat the elements that are using to work, like shapes and colors. Do you get? So now that we have understand how to arrange our designs using layout and composition, let's now put all this knowledge into action. Do you understand? So now we're going to design a sports day flyer, something fun, bold and exciting, right, that can invite students to big events. I will show you how to do it step by step, and then we'll get a chance to create our own flyer. You get? So now let's run down through the steps of the flyer that we are going to create. So this is the flyer that we are going to create right here. Do you understand? This is the flyer that we are going to create. So first of all, I'll show you guys. You guys know how we do it now. We'll first of all go through the steps, and then we'll go to our Canva and we'll start designing, right? So let's get the steps on how to do it. So step one, as we all know, step one will always be to create a new document size, right, for our design. That is usually the steps, right? So the document size you're going to use here is poster portrait. Do you understand? So to create a new document size, we'll come to this tray bar here and click on it, right? Click on create design and then choose the one that you want to use. Do you get? So now the next one is to add a background color. So once we are done, the next thing we're supposed to do is to add a background color for the design that we are going to design. So the color that we use for this design is a soft cream color, right? That was the color that we used for this background. So now the next step for us to do is to add a green rectangle. You understand? A green rectangle that looks like the header, right? So how can we add this? Simply by going to tools, and then we click on shapes, and then we add a rectangle. Then we resize it and change the color to what we want it to be. Then after that, the next thing we are going to do is to add a green circle, right? We want to add a green circle so that it looks like a grass. Do you understand? So we go to tools again, we click on the shape, and then we choose circle. So once we get this, we resize it, right? We increase the size, and then we place it right here so that it gives us this ground kind of shape, right? So after that, the next step which we are going to do is to add illustrations or image. So we just go to the element and we search cute playful children in soccer costume, right? And place it as we see right here. Do you guys understand? So once we get it, this is the particular image that we use. So we just place it and then keep it where we want it to be. Then after that, the next step which we are going to take is to add the basketball. You know, there's a basketball near it. So we just go back to elements, right? And just search for basketball and then pick one that we need and then place it where we want to be. Resize and place where you want it to be. So now the next thing for us to do is to add a title. Now we are done creating the background, right? Is to add the title. So we just go to text, right? Click on add a text box, then type the Kids Sports Day 2025 and change the font to Golf's display, right? And then resize it to 160, and then change the size to 146. Yes, so we use this font because it's a display font, right? You say display fonts are mostly used for advertisements, and we are advertising the Kids Sports Day, right? So that's why we use this display font right here. So now the next one is to add the school name, right? So we'll add our school name on top of the header. So we change the font to and the font size. So after that, the next thing we want to do is to add the event info. So that's all the information that will be needed for the event, right? So we'll add it right here. And then, voila, we already have our flyer right here. So now, let's go to our Canva and then make this design. We are in our Canva homepage, right? We are in our Canva right now. We're in our Canva homepage. So we need to create a document size, right? So we come here, we click here, right? And then we click on create a new design. You understand? So I have it right here, so I just click on it. Poster portrait. So I click on it. Sorry that this is taking time. It's because of network. But then we already have our document size here. Yeah, it's just for the icons to load. All right, so now we have this. So we have taken the first step, which is creating our document size. So the next thing which we are supposed to do is to add our background color, right? So this is how it looks like. But then if I click on this background now, you see that something shows. See, if I click on it, the background color shows. So I click on the background color right here, and then it's time for me to change the color to what I want it to be, right? So I click on it. You need to get like a cream kind of color. So now I've gotten my color, right? I've gotten my background color. So now the next thing which I'm supposed to do is to add the green rectangle. That is the next step, right? So add this rectangle. We come down here to tools, click on tools, then we come to shape. So we click on the rectangle here, and we have this. Then we expand it like this, right? Then we place it right here. Do you understand? And then let me resize this a little bit. So now we have the header, right? So the next thing for us to do is to change the color. So we come here, and then we need to change the color. So I put this. This is what I want. I want it to be a little darker. I want it to be darker than that. Sorry. So I bring it down a little bit like this. Perfect. So for my background color, I think this is too bright for me. So I just bring it up a little bit. Yeah, this is how I want it to be. So now I have the green rectangle, right? So the next step for us is to get our grass, right? Using the circle shape. So we come back to shape here, we click on it, we get our circle, and then in order to be able to achieve that type of circle, right, what we are going to do is we resize it from the sides, from this angle. We're going to resize it from this angle, not from here. So, and then now we're not going to hold the Alt key to resize, because we don't want it to resize uniformly, right? So we resize it like this, and then we come down here, we make it bigger. So now we place this right here, and that is how we get our grass shape. So now we have our grass shape right here. So now we have created this one, and we have created this one. So the next step for us is to add the image. Do you understand? So for us to add the image, we come to elements, we click on elements, and then we search cute, playful children in soccer costume. And you press enter so that it can search for us, right? So we come to this arrow right here, we place here, we click here, we click here. Now see the image I want to use right here. Do you understand? This is the image I want to use right here. So I click on this image. I click on it, and then the image appears here. Do you get? So I place it right here like this. Place it right here like this, right? So if we want, we can make it big a little, and then right. So now we have this. You understand? But then I want to change this, their yellow. I don't like the yellow color, so I want to change it, the yellow color, right? So now I come down here to this color palette here. What color do I want to change it to? Because that should be the next question. What color do I want to change it to, right? So let's come down here to our color palette and then check the color we would like to change it to. Or should we just leave it like this? All right, let's leave it like this and just maybe just change the blue color to a darker blue. Yes, let's just change the blue color like this. So we changed the blue one and just left the yellow. We changed the blue ones and just left the yellow. So now we have this. Remember, you can also change the colors however you want. Do you understand? You can change the colors to anyhow you want it to be. So the next step for us to do now is to get our ball. You know, there's a basketball that was around this side. So the next thing we need to do is for us to get our basketball. So we come back here to elements, right? And then we remove this one and then we search basketball. Press enter. So now we have this. So I'm going to choose this particular one right here, and then I will resize it how I want it to be and place it here. It's still too big, so I just resize it a little more bit and place it here. Maybe resize it again. Right, so now I have my ball placed right here. So now we are done with the background. So the next thing for us to do is to add title right here, to add the title. So for us to do that, we come to text right here. We click on this add a text. Remember, you can always choose your text here. They are already made tests for you, test templates, customized tests, anyone you want to call it. Already made tests for you here, which you can just choose and edit it how you want. You understand? But I don't want to use these ones here. I want to make my own test. So I click here, and then you see the text box came in, but then it's too small. So what do I have to do first? I'll first of all have to resize it by holding this circle, this thing you're seeing here, and then I'm moving outwards. So that means that I'm scaling it. So I carry it and then I place it here. You understand? So now I write my text. What do I need to write? I write kids sports day 2025, right? So now we have our text right here. So the next thing for us to do now is to change the font, right? We need to change the font. So we change the font to Golf's display. Oh, sorry, this wasn't typing. So we change it to Golf's display. So we press enter and then see it right here. So click on it. Oh, sorry guys. I don't know what I pressed, and then let's do it again. We're here. So we already searched for it. So we click on it, right? And then this is our text. So now we need to put this to the size we want, which is what? 146. Right? This is the size we want it to be. So then just place it here. So my line spacing is too much. So I need to work with that. So now I have this. I have this. The line spacing is still too much. It still is now. So I think this is okay. So the next thing we need to do right, is for us to change the color. This is black, but then we want it to be white. So how do we change the color of the font? You come to this A letter that has so many colors under, right? You see, it's writing text color. So you click on it, and then you come down here and we change it to white. So now we have this. Do you understand? So I think we should increase our rectangle a bit so that this balance very well. So now, yeah. So now we have this. And another thing, when designing, right, because you are talking about layouts and compositions. When designing, this thing shouldn't just start from here. You see, mine did not start from there, so you have to start from here, somewhere here. So this is okay for me. Do you understand? Then I have to change this to be like this. So now, I now have my Keep Sports Day 2025. Do you get? So the next step which I need to take is for us to write the school name, which should be on top. So how do we do this again? We come back to test right here, click on test. We add another test box, is here again, but this time around also it is small. So what do? We resize it. Remember, you can also resize it from here by adding, if I keep on clicking on the cross sign here, it is increasing. Do you understand? That is another way that you can change your distance. So now we have to write. For me, I'm going to write Digital Gym. So for you, you need to put the name of your school. So I write Digital Dreams ICT So that's for me. So now I need to change the color of the font, but then first of all, let's change the font itself, because this is not the font that I would like to use, right? So we come here. Remember, the name of the fonts are written on the step. So we look for Garrett. So we look for Garrett. Sorry, here. Let's remove this one that we started before. So we come here, we look for Garrett. Right? See it right here. We click on it. So now it has changed. So we carry it from this plus sign here, and then we place it here. Then we need to change the font to 40, right? 40. Yes, because the main information, we talked about hierarchy. The main information we are talking about here is the Keep Sports Day 2025. So we don't want to come and make our school name to be more big than the actual information we are trying to pass. Do you understand? So that's why it has to be 40. So it's now smaller than this thing. So now we have to change. Okay, no, we're not changing the color. So now we have this, right? So you see, it's resting on like this. But now, is that how I want it to be? No. Remember, we talked about white space, where you give space when you have written something. So we want it to be here. Perfect. Right? We want it to be there. So now we have this right here. So the next thing for us to do is to put the informations, right? Is to add the event informations. So now to do that, right, we come right here to test again, or then instead of us coming to test, why don't we come here and duplicate this? How can we duplicate this? By pressing Ctrl D. So if you look at your keyboard, you see a place where they wrote CTRL. Then you press it down and press D. Press the two of them at the same time. Or then if you don't want to follow this one, you can just come here. You see this place is writing duplicate. This one, if you click on it, you have duplicated it, right? It's now 2. So we carry it down here. Do you understand? And then we click inside it, and this blue line comes out. If you're showing this blue, then it means that you can now write, you can now edit, right? So now we write 17th. Write 17th. Write 17th. April 2025 at 10 a.m. So now we have this, but then I want us to increase the size. So we increase it a bit like this. And then what's the next thing that we're supposed to do? Next thing for us to do is to make it bold. Do you understand? Because I want people to see it. So I come here, the place where it wrote B, right here, and I click on it, and then you see it's now bold. Now has a bold this thing. So now we have this. So the next information we have to put is the special note. Do you understand? So we come here again, and then we duplicate this. That's instead of writing a new distance, so we duplicate it, right? And then we come here, we click on it again. You see the blue line has come out, so we write special note, right? So now we have this. We now place it here. Make sure that it's space, right? So we place it here. So the next thing we are supposed to do, right, is for us to duplicate this again. So we duplicate it again, and then we bring it down here, and then we click on it again. The blue line is out, right? And then we write on it. So you write whatever thing you want to write right here. So let's write you are highly invited to our sports day. All right. So now, what size are we supposed to put this particular one? We're supposed to put it to be 27. So we change it to 27. Press enter. So now it's tiny. So we place it here, and then we place a list for it. Do you understand? Place a list for it. So now that we have this, do you get? Now that we have this, we type the next one. So we type the next one. So the next one should be, do enter, and then we have please, right? Please ensure your child is dressed in comfortable sports wear. You understand? So this has a center alignment. There's something known as alignment, that we have talked about. I thought you guys have center alignment, right? So now I want to change it so that they are all here. They all have side alignment, right? Sorry. What's it called? Left side alignment, right? We have left side alignment, we have right, and we have center. You understand? So now we add list for it. So now we have this. All right? We have this. You understand? So we need to reduce this and make it, since this is, it's supposed to be 40. I don't know why it's like, it's supposed to be 40, enter. So we reduce this also to be 40. And place it very well. We talked about placement, right? Talked about layout. So it's all about your placing, how you place your stuff, your elements, right? So let's make this one 50. So you have this. So now you have another test, right? So which is events for the day. So now we move this to be in bold. This should be like this. Do you understand? So now we duplicate this like this. We bring it down here, and then we click on it, and we have events. We have events for the day, right? So now we have this. We remove the list that we put and click on bold. So it should be bold. Do you understand? So now it should be bold. So the next thing we are going to do is to duplicate this one again. So we duplicate it again. We bring it down right here. We click on it and we write, that is the event for the day now, the game that we are going to be played. Write soccer. Right? Write soccer. Then we write basketball. Then we write volleyball. We have long jump. And then now our right stops are coming together. So we have to place this very well. Right? So now we hold this and shift key so that we shift it a little bit, right? So now our write-ups are coming together. All right, so now we have this, right? So let's put this one to be in capital letter, right? So just come here, uppercase, so that it is as we want it to be. Let's change this back to 40. Should be in 40. So now we have this. You guys understand? So press shift key. Let's move all this here. Voila. So now we are done making our design, right? So this is what we have right here. You understand? If you look at everything was placed very well, right? This design have what we call left alignment. Do you understand? So now we are done making our design. This is how your sports, this is how we made the sports day flyer, right? So now let's go back. Let's go back to our slides. So now I'm going to show you guys the mini projects that you guys are going to do for me. Do you understand? Now that we are done, you guys are going to design a flyer for a school day event. So you're going to recreate the sports day flyer using your own colors, your own shapes and characters to make it fun and creative, right? So you guys are going to make this for me, all right? You're going to make this, but then you might change your. So now that we are done with our designs, right? Now that we have made this beautiful design right here, the next thing we are going to do is your mini project, right? So you're going to recreate the sport day flyer using your own colors, shapes and characters. Make it fun and creative, right? So you guys will be making this flyer right here. So use your own colors, shape. If you want, you can also use my own color, right? But then you can just use your own colors, but let it be fine, let it be catchy. All right, so that's all for today. Bye guys, see you guys in our next class.